Okay, so get this right. Professor Patrick Paul Walsh, he's the director of the UN SDG Academy, and he's saying universities could become obsolete.
Whoa.
Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Imagine, you get your degree, and it doesn't even matter anymore because the skills everyone needs for a sustainable future, what they're calling green skills, they're changing so fast that universities can't keep up.
It is a pretty bold statement. Yeah, for sure.
It is. Right.
And it's not just anyone saying it,
Right.
It's Professor Walsh.
Exactly.
He's a big name, like a leading expert in sustainable development.
He knows his stuff.
Yeah, so it's not just some, random person on the internet.
Right.
He really understands all these complex things going on.
Okay, so we're not just talking about a few, environmental jobs here and there.
No, not at all.
This green skills gap, that's what he calls it, this could affect the whole economy, everyone.
Yeah, it could ripple out everywhere.
So we're diving into this article from University World News. It really gets into this whole issue.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting they partnered with ABET for this.
Oh, right.
Because they're like the big guys for accrediting STEM programs, so
Yeah,
it's a pretty serious partnership.
it gives it more weight for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's get into it. What's the deal with this green skills gap? The article makes it sound kind of scary, like the demand for these green skills is just exploding.
Yeah.
But traditional education, especially universities, are stuck in the mud.
Yeah, it's not just about being slow, though. It's like, think about how universities work, right?
Yeah.
You've got all these different departments, and their funding is all separate. And let's face it, academics don't always love change.
They can be pretty set in their ways.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
not exactly a system built for speed and agility.
No, and that's kind of the opposite of what we need right now with this whole green economy thing.
Right, exactly, because it's changing so fast.
Yeah, and it's only going to get faster.
Yeah. But, okay, so the article doesn't just, complain about the problem. It actually tries to find some solutions, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And one of the big things Professor Walsh talks about is collaboration.
Oh.
And not just the usual kind of academic collaboration, like between departments.
Right.
He's talking about universities working with, technical and vocational institutions, TVET, they call it.
Oh, yeah, TVET.
Which are all about, practical skills, job-ready skills, and also working with private companies, the businesses that actually need these green skills.
So everyone needs to get out of their little bubbles and work together.
Yeah, exactly. It can't just be universities doing their own thing anymore.
Right, and he even suggests they should, co-create their courses and stuff.
Yeah, and recognize prior learning, too.
Oh, interesting.
So, maybe you learn something valuable in an apprenticeship or even online.
Right, yeah, not just in a classroom.
Exactly. And that kind of ties into another idea the article talks about, transdisciplinarity.
Ooh, that's a mouthful.
I know, right? It sounds complicated, but it's actually not that bad.
Okay, break it down for me.
Basically, it means breaking down those walls between different academic disciplines.
Okay.
Instead of having engineers over here, sociologists over there, and economists somewhere else, you get them all in the same room.
I see.
Working together on a problem.
So, if you're designing a sustainable city,
Exactly.
you need everyone's input.
You got it.
Not just, one perspective.
Yeah, sustainability problems are complex.
They are.
So you need people with different backgrounds and expertise working together.
So it's not just having green skills, but also understanding how they connect to everything else.
Exactly.
And that's where this whole Sustainable Development Solutions Network comes in, the SDSN.
Yep, that's a big one.
Remind me what that is again.
So it's this global network of academics who are all about finding real-world solutions to these sustainability challenges.
Okay.
They're actually the ones who came up with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs.
Oh, right, the SDGs.
That's just 17 goals.
Yeah, those are becoming a big deal, right?
Huge, yeah, like a roadmap for a better future.
It's kind of ironic, though. The article points out that universities are often being told what to do about the SDGs by governments and NGOs and corporations.
Right.
Even though they're supposed to be the leaders, the ones coming up with the solutions.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're being told to be the students when they should be the teachers.
Exactly.
A bit of a weird situation.
Yeah, who's in charge here?
Right, exactly. But we can't forget about the SDG Academy either, which is actually part of the SDSN.
Oh, right. Yeah, the SDG Academy.
They offer those free online courses on all kinds of sustainability topics.
Yeah, I've seen those.
They've reached over 1 million learners worldwide.
That's amazing.
It is, but Professor Walsh points out there are 8 billion people on the planet.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more work to do.
A lot more people to reach.
Definitely.
So, okay, back to this question of whether universities are falling behind in this whole green skills race.
Yeah.
What are the, the main things holding them back?
Well, one is just the crazy speed of change.
Mm,
Think about it. The internet completely changed everything in like a couple of decades.
yeah.
And now this green economy thing is happening even faster, and universities just aren't used to moving that quickly.
It's like they're running a marathon when they need to be sprinting.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then there's the money issue.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
A lot of universities are struggling financially, right?
For sure.
So it's hard for them to invest in all these new green programs and hire faculty who have the latest expertise and all that.
Yeah, you need resources to make change happen, and sometimes those resources just aren't there.
So even if they want to do it, they might not be able to.
Exactly.
But despite all that, the article does talk about some cool things universities are trying.
Oh, yeah, there are definitely some bright spots.
Like some are offering these micro-credentials.
Yeah, those are great because they're shorter and more focused.
So you can get the specific skills you need without having to do a whole degree.
Exactly.
And then there are those master pathways programs.
Yeah, those are designed to help people who, maybe didn't study science or engineering in undergrad,
Okay.
but they want to transition into a green career.
So it's opening up these fields to a wider range of people.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
It is.
But then the article brings up this other interesting point about the, like, bipolar nature of universities.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's like, on the one hand, you've got some departments that are, like, super into sustainability.
Yeah, they're all about it.
They're doing all these eco-friendly things.
Right, they're walking the walk.
But then other departments are just, like, business as usual. They're not changing anything.
Yeah, it's like they're living in two different worlds.
It's weird.
It is a bit strange, yeah.
So if the universities themselves aren't fully committed, how can we expect students to graduate with these green skills?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it?
It's like saying you're a fitness guru, but you never go to the gym yourself.
Exactly. It's hard to take seriously.
Right.
Totally.
So we've talked about how important these green skills are, but like, what exactly are they?
Yeah, like what kind of jobs are we talking about here?
Right. Give us some real world examples.
Well, it's interesting because Professor Walsh, he comes at this from the perspective of an industrial economist.
Okay.
And he talks about structural change in the labor force, like how the Industrial Revolution changed everything, or the internet. Those were huge shifts in what kind of work people did.
Right.
And he's saying we're at the beginning of another one of those shifts.
Okay.
But this time it's all about sustainability.
So we're not just talking about, like, people planting trees or installing solar panels.
No, not at all.
Okay. So what else?
It's about every job changing, evolving to be more sustainable,
Give me an example.
Okay, so like think about marketing, right?
Okay.
Someone's going to market all those eco-friendly products, or financial analysts, they need to be able to evaluate green investments. Urban planners designing sustainable cities.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this.
Even lawyers, they're going to need to specialize in environmental law.
Wow. Okay, so this really is going to affect everyone.
It is, yeah. It's a total game changer, no matter what you do.
And governments are starting to realize this, right?
Oh, yeah. The article talks about all these investments they're making.
Oh, really?
To help people upskill, like learn the new skills they need for this green economy.
But we were just talking about how universities might be too slow to adapt.
Yeah.
So what are the other ways people can get this training?
Well, there's TVET, technical and vocational education and training.
Right, TVET.
Those programs are super hands-on. They're all about like practical skills that you can use right away. So that's a good option.
What about companies themselves? Are they doing anything?
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're realizing they can't just wait for the education system to catch up. They need people with these skills now.
So what are they doing?
Lots of things, actually, like setting up their own training programs.
Okay.
Bringing in outside experts to teach their employees, even offering their own micro-credentials in specific areas.
So it sounds like there are options out there, but it's all a bit, like, scattered.
Yeah, it's a bit of a Wild West out there right now.
So how do we make sure all these different programs are actually teaching the right stuff?
That's the million-dollar question, and Professor Walsh talks about the need for coherence.
Coherence.
Yeah, it basically means making sure everyone's on the same page.
Okay.
Like, governments, schools, companies, they all need to agree on what green skills are needed.
And how to teach them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just a bunch of random people doing their own thing.
It's like a recipe where everyone throws in their favorite ingredient, but nobody knows what the final dish is supposed to be.
Exactly. It's a recipe for disaster, potentially.
Right, because the stakes are pretty high here.
They are, yeah, if we don't figure this out, it's not just about people not having the right jobs.
It's about the planet, right?
Exactly. It's about solving these huge sustainability challenges.
So back to the SDSN and the SDG Academy.
Yeah, those are key players.
Just to remind everyone, the SDSN is that global network of academics who are all about finding solutions.
Right, the Sustainable Development Solutions Network.
And they're the ones who helped create the UN's Sustainable Development Goals.
The SDGs, those 17 goals for a better future.
Right, so they're kind of like the big thinkers.
They are, yeah, they're setting the agenda.
And then the SDG Academy is their education arm.
Yep, they're the ones offering those free online courses.
Which have already reached 1 million people.
It's amazing, but like we said before, there's still a long way to go.
8 billion people on Earth, remember?
Exactly. We need to reach everyone.
Okay, so back to the article's main question. Are universities really falling behind in this green skills race?
It's a tough one.
Like, what are the biggest hurdles they're facing?
Well, for one thing, they're just not structured in a way that makes it easy to adapt.
In what way?
Well, they're all divided up into these separate departments, right?
Yeah.
And sustainability issues, they cut across all those boundaries.
Right. You need everyone working together.
Exactly. But universities aren't always good at that kind of collaboration.
Like trying to bake a cake but only using one hand.
Yeah, something like that.
And then there's that speed issue we talked about before.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Like the pace of change is so fast.
Yeah, universities are used to moving at a much slower pace.
It's a mismatch.
It is, for sure.
And don't forget about the money.
Oh, yeah, that's always a factor.
A lot of universities are just struggling to survive, right?
They are, yeah. Funding is a constant challenge.
So it's hard to find the money for all these new green programs and faculty.
Exactly. It's not always a lack of will. It's a lack of resources.
But, okay, despite all that, the article does point to some cool things universities are trying.
Oh, yeah. There are definitely some bright spots.
Like those micro-credentials and master pathways programs we talked about.
Yeah, those are great examples of how universities can be more flexible.
And reach a wider range of students.
Exactly.
And some universities are, like, embedding sustainability principles into all their courses.
Yeah, it's not just about creating new programs, it's about transforming the existing ones.
So sustainability becomes a core part of everything they do.
Exactly.
And some are going even further, like partnering with businesses to give students real-world experience.
Yeah, and setting up research centers dedicated to sustainability.
So there's a lot of experimentation happening, which is exciting.
It is, yeah. It feels like we're on the cusp of something big.
But I keep coming back to this bipolar thing.
Yeah.
Like, how can we expect students to graduate with these green skills if the universities themselves aren't fully on board?
Yeah, it's like, they're saying one thing but doing another.
It's a bit like, that whole greenwashing thing.
Right, exactly.
Like, are they really committed or is it just for show? So how do we get past that? Like, how do we make universities truly sustainable, not just in bits and pieces?
Well, I think it goes back to what Professor Walsh was saying about coherence and collaboration. It's not just about working with outside organizations. It's about how universities work internally, too.
So breaking down those silos again.
Exactly.
Like, every department needs to be on board with this.
Sustainability can't just be like a side project for a few enthusiastic professors.
Right.
It needs to be woven into everything, the curriculum, how the campus runs, what kind of research they do.
So it's a bigger change than just adding a few sustainability courses.
It is. It's more like a fundamental shift in how they think about their role.
Like rethinking the whole purpose of higher education.
Exactly, yeah. Like, what is a university for in this day and age?
Especially with all these changes happening so fast.
Right. It's not just about preparing students for jobs anymore.
It's about preparing them to be, like, citizens of a sustainable world.
Exactly. They need to be able to think critically about these complex issues.
And come up with solutions.
Yeah, and universities need to be the ones leading the way on that, not lagging behind.
So it's not just about, like, teaching facts and figures anymore.
No, it's about developing a whole mindset, a way of looking at the world.
And that's got to start with the universities themselves.
Absolutely. They need to be the models, the examples.
You're walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly.
Okay, so big picture, what does all this mean for, like, our listener, someone who's maybe just starting to learn about all this?
Well, I think the main thing is don't get overwhelmed.
Right. It can be a lot to take in.
It is. There's so much information out there, and it's changing all the time.
But it's also exciting, right?
It is. Yeah, there's so much potential here.
Like, to make a real difference.
Exactly. This transition to a sustainable future, it's going to create a huge demand for new skills, new ways of thinking.
And that means there are going to be tons of opportunities
Absolutely, for people to find meaningful work.
and to help solve some of these big problems.
Yeah, and we've only just scratched the surface here. This deep dive has given you a taste of what's out there.
But the real journey starts now.
It does, yeah. Like, what are you going to do to develop your own green skills?
What resources are you going to tap into?
How are you going to get involved?
Because this is everyone's responsibility.
It is, yeah. The future really is in our hands.
It's up to all of us to make it happen.